ball. Deep left field. Oh, 27. Does it again.
Gone. Fernando Tatis Jr. with a 2-run shot has the Padres on the board.
Go. That's his 11th. Driven out to deep center field. Going back. Springer turning, looking. See ya. Oh, what a shot by Judge. The Yankees lead 1-0.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Free Baseball Special Playoff Edition. Number what now, Jake 3, simulcast with the Guardians and Yankees. So also, while you're watching the Guardians, try to close out the Yankees. I think it's 2-1 now. While you're watching the Guardians, try to close out the Yankees. Hang out with us. Talk baseball. It's episode number 32 of Free Baseball, presented by theathleteshub.org. My name is Davis Bird, and I am joined, as always, by my excellent co-host, Jake Crumpler. Awesome. Last couple of days of baseball, Jake. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's why we're here. But yeah, let's do it. I'm wearing the hat. Rest in peace, Mariners. We'll cover every single division series. Obviously, one of them's still going right now. Could possibly end today. That's the best case scenario right now. And then we'll preview the championship series as well. And we've got the Bring in the Closer segment coming back this episode this week. So stay tuned in all the way through the episode so you can hear which closer is closing out the podcast and hear about his career.
Awesome. Like Jake just said, all the division series except for Guardians and Yankees are now over. We talked about this last pod, and I talked about it being like a head chooses Braves, heart chooses Phillies. Heart won out so hard. The Phillies just kind of slapped the Braves. And they did it with basically what I said. If their offense really starts to click, they are one of the most dangerous teams in the playoffs. They just have crazy power. Their offense strings together runs, and you saw it against Atlanta, closing them out 8-3. Another game that they won, Rhys Hoskins with a huge home run, bat slam, 9-1 off Spencer Strider, a guy that I said was going to end up being really good in the series, and really was not. So Phillies, I'm all on the Phillies wagon. Phillies Guardians World Series, it's going to happen. And I have no clue. Those fan bases, I don't know if they deserve it because they're rowdy, crazy, but that'd just be a really fun series. So that's what I'm hoping for. What's your takeaways from these series? What were your first thoughts? Like, what was your reaction to like the big Hoskins homer and like all the Phillies madness?
Yeah, the Phillies definitely surprised me. I said last podcast that I didn't think they had a chance against the defending champ Braves. The Phillies just aren't one of those teams. They're sort of like a roster construction that is sort of ideal for the modern postseason, and the Phillies are not constructed that way. They do have the starters though, and they have the big bats, and I think that's what's carrying them so far is that they've got like 3 really solid starters. 2 of them are aces, and Nolan, Wheeler, Suarez is coming into his own as well. So being able to rely on like 3 really good pitchers is pretty solid, and then having some guys who can hit some clutch home runs, but they just don't have the bullpen that you would expect from a team that's going to go deep into the postseason. So they've really surprised me, and they've just been one of the most electric teams so far in the postseason. That Hoskins bat slam, it's going to be a great moment that we're going to watch for years to come. I'm sure of it. That's going to be a highlight that's played on MLB TV all the time. But yeah, they just seem so electric. They're having a good time. They just seem super motivated to like prove everybody wrong. They haven't been in the postseason for a decade, so it looks like they're pretty driven to take down the big teams, and you know they have sort of an easier road going forward, at least in the NLCS, which we'll get to later.
Absolutely. I think it also needs to be understated. Like their offense is really good. Their bullpen at times this season has looked really shaky, but that's the Phillies every year. We talked about that at the start. Their rotation has really held it down, especially Aaron Nola. Nola was really, really good this series. He had obviously just the one start, only needed it. But I mean, Wheeler was good. Syndergaard was good. And if this team really can hold it together, I think this is probably the most dangerous offense left in the playoffs. Like maybe Houston. Obviously, it's not Cleveland. Like we can kind of rule that out. I don't think they scored more than 4 runs in a game. I take that back. They just walked one off 5-4, 2-1 yesterday. But other than that, they haven't scored more than 4 runs in a singular game. The Yankees 2 hit or miss. Houston's is pretty wild, which we can kind of go ahead and jump into that. The Astros, very unfortunately, and Jake's wearing the Mariners hat. The Astros swept the Mariners, closing them out last night in 18 innings. Really, really, really hoping maybe the Mariners win. Just count it as 2 games, 18 innings. But yeah.
That's an instant classic for sure. It tied for the longest postseason game in MLB history. We've had 2 previous 18-inning games. One was between the Giants and the Nationals, where the Brandon Belt walked it off, and then the other one was the Dodgers-Red Sox World Series. I think the Dodgers won that one, and yeah, that's one of the longest games of all time. It's also the longest scoreless postseason game in history because it was scoreless through 17 innings. So it was definitely an instant classic for sure, because I went to go play basketball after the 9th inning and I came back and it was like the 14th inning and I was like, wait, what? How is this game still going? But yeah, it's super disappointing to see the Mariners not come through, but Yordan Alvarez just carried the Astros. He was unstoppable. He became like Barry Bonds.
I know. Back to the 18 inning thing. You know what the most typical thing is, Jake? I stayed up. I didn't watch the entire game. I kind of watched it in peaks and valleys.
Mm-hmm.
Picked up in like the 15th inning. I watched through the moment I walk out of the room. The moment I walk out of the room, it's going to run.
They hit the home run. Yeah.
Like, you got to be kidding me. Yordan Alvarez is the Terminator. I mean, he's so good. Jeremy Pena, though, guy that replaced Carlos Correa, Captain Clutch previously in the playoffs for Houston, hits the solo shot that sinks the Mariners. Did you see the clip a couple days ago with Carlos Correa actually talking to Jeremy Pena on MLB Network?
I did not.
It's kind of awkward. It was a little weird. Awkward situation there, but congratulations to Jeremy Pena and to the Astros. You sent me the stat earlier. Do you want to go ahead and talk about that, Jake? I think.
Which one?
So the Astros. I can do that.
Oh yeah. Go ahead. I know what you're talking about now.
The Astros now have the second most consecutive league championship appearances in Major League Baseball history with 6. They only trail the Atlanta Braves. The Smoltz, Maddox, Glavine Braves of the 1990s, which had 8, but Houston now has 6 in a row where they've made the championship series. Just incredible, like that they've been this dominant for this long.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they don't make the World Series, but
yeah, let's hope not. Do you consider them a dynasty? Because so many people will say
no,
you're not a dynasty unless you win multiple World Series. It's hard not to consider those 90s Braves teams a dynasty, but they only won 1 World Series. And I don't think many teams consider them even like the team of the 90s. I feel like people are like the Yankees were the team of the 90s. So it's hard to decide whether or not the Astros are a dynasty. Do they have to win this year to be a dynasty in your book?
No. So like for whatever reason, my weird parameters to set what a dynasty is in professional sports, my barometer is 3 championships, and that goes by almost like a weird football rule. I know you're not like the biggest football guy, but to me, like three championships marks you as a dynasty. 2 championships is like, all right, cool. Like you're a good team. 3 championships in like a 10-year span, like dynasty. That's what I'd say. So I don't think so. I mean, they've just got the 1 championship, which is obviously also marked by controversy, which also kind of it really puts a damper on that for me. Mm-hmm. But they're a great team, and that's what makes the cheating thing I know it should still be out of everyone's minds at this point. But that's what makes it so bad, was because this team has been so good and has continued to be so good. Like in spite of everything, it's like, all right, you remember when they cheated? It's like, that sucks. Not a dynasty for me, just a good team. Maybe if they win, they can get on that road, but I don't know. Yeah, for me, no. What do you think?
Those are fair points. I don't know. I feel like I'm in the boat of, you got to win multiple championships at the very least. But yeah, I don't know, because it's so hard to tell, because like you said, they've been so dominant, so consistent for a long period of time. I feel like they are just like very parallel with the Braves, other than the Braves having not cheated and stuff. So they don't have that black mark, that black stain on their record. But I don't know. I think I would have to consider them a dynasty. It's like them and the Dodgers, but the Dodgers have been maybe better than the Astros in the regular season, but they just never, they don't make the championship series every time. Quick update on the Yankees Guardians game. Harrison Bader just hit his third home run of the series to make it 3-0.
Boo.
Yeah, he's really showing that trade at the deadline was actually very worth it, because it seemed really goofy at the time, because that's the Jordan Montgomery trade that everybody has been pooping on the Yankees for basically since it happened, because Jordan Montgomery has been so good and Harrison Bader was just injured the whole time, but it's looking like it's paying off. He's really going off this series. So like we said earlier, if the Yankees can win this game, it'll force a game 5, but we'll talk about that in a second. Finishing up the thoughts about the Astros. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would consider them a dynasty. They've just been one of the best teams since they stopped rebuilding and stuff. So yeah, pretty crazy. You mentioned that stat about their championship series, but we've also talked about Yordan Alvarez, and this is more of a regular season stat, but this was tweeted by Eno Saris, and in a minimum of 1,500 plate appearances, career WRC plus for every player in Major League history, Yordan Alvarez is 10th all time in WRC plus, trailing Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, Lou Gehrig, Rogers Hornsby, Barry Bonds, Mike Trout, Mickey Mantle, Ty Cobb, and Shoeless Joe Jackson. And he is 1 spot ahead of Aaron Judge and 2 spots ahead of Stan Musial. So we're watching a couple of the best hitters of all time right now in the playoffs. So that's really cool. I think Yordan is going to be really somebody he might just keep getting better, as he becomes more of like a professional hitter, which he already is incredible. So I think he's going to continue to wreak havoc this postseason, which might be unfortunate for whoever wins this Guardians of Yankees series.
Are there any of those guys good at baseball?
I don't know. I think I've heard of a couple. And Barty Bonds, I think I know that guy.
Harold Bond.
Yeah.
Roger Hornman. Yeah. Yordan's so good. It's a shame
that home run he had, the first walk-off he had, that was the largest change in win probability in postseason history.
I saw that. It's like 91% like win probability added. Just crazy. I think that was also the first walk-off home run hit while the team was trailing by multiple runs in the playoffs.
Really?
I think so, in postseason history. Or like when they were trailing at home in postseason history. It was some sort of weird parameter like that. But yeah, so Yordan's so good. Shame for the Mariners.
Was so crazy. Just like he's so good. He rocketed that ball. And just put the Astros on top super early, put the Mariners down in the dumps. But I don't know, it was cool. At least the Mariners got like the home game and stuff. So glad the Mariners at least made it to the playoffs, made it to the division series too. So it was a good season for the Mariners. I'm glad they finally got that postseason elephant off their back, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and it's a team that'll definitely be back. I mean, this was a year that they weren't even expected to make it. So, the Mariners will be back, and maybe they'll be a new dynasty like the Astros. That you say they are, I say they are, but maybe we'll see. On to this one. I know you want to talk about this one. Padres defeated the regular season champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Absolutely smoked them. Spirit Halloween on Vince Scully Avenue. So Padres just blasted them. My guy that I said would probably be be the dog this series, Jerkson Profar, I think he did approximately absolutely nothing. But yeah,
He had a couple
Padre-
hits.
yeah, a couple. Almost every single at bat I got to watch him, he struck out almost
Yeah.
like flailing at something very bad.
Mhm.
Yeah, Padres beat the Dodgers, 111 win Dodgers. Do you see the really pretentious Los Angeles Times article?
No.
There's a pretentious ass Los Angeles Times article that said if there was any team that deserved the canceling of the postseason and just
Oh
award them
yeah,
the
no,
World
I
Series
did.
already,
I did see that. I did see
yeah,
that.
it should be the 111 win Los Angeles Dodgers, who just got clapped by
Yeah.
the San Diego Padres, who I think
Mhm.
believe they collected 89 wins. Yeah, so Padres absolutely smoke them if you got them. They really gave it to the Dodgers, and I'm here for it, all about
Mhm.
it. This was
So am I.
this was probably the best case scenario in LCS. I think we said this last time. So like, or at least for me, Padres Phillies. Yeah, this is going to be an exciting series, and I think an interesting storyline to talk about. Several years ago, $300 men, Manny Machado, Bryce
Oh,
Harper.
didn't even think about that.
Now both have their respective teams in the NLCS. Let's see which one actually gets them to the World Series and maybe wins them a championship. I'm a Harper guy, but I love Manny. I'm hoping the Phillies win, but I wouldn't be upset about the Padres. Yu Darvish is like one of my favorite baseball players that's still in the league, and I would love for him to get a ring. So this is like perfect win-win series for me. Either of these teams that makes it awesome. Just need Cleveland to get there. Cleveland to get there, and need them to blow out the Astros.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, it was a great series. You know, the Dodgers have been so good for the last decade or so. So what I look forward to every postseason is for them to get knocked out, and you know, you can still call their goofy 2020 championship Mickey Mouse championship. So there's still a lot of trash talking to be directed towards the Dodgers. And yeah, I mean, it was a great time. Glad to see them knocked out again. Went to go watch the game last night with some friends that are Dodgers fans, and so that was awesome for me to see them just down in the dumps, you know, for another season. It's pretty crazy that they just get knocked out every single year. They just need that 60 games season, that kind of stuff to give them those advantages. But you know, do you remember in the offseason, in the preseason, that Dave Roberts said that the Dodgers were going to win the World Series this year?
That's interesting that you said that. He said that on the Rich Eisen show.
Yeah.
Mark it down, write it down. We're gonna win the World Series in 2022.
Yeah. Poor Dave Roberts. His team sucks.
Next year, 2020. Yeah, poor Dave. I wish we could change the background again.
Yeah, I do not have that uploaded, and it might take too long, so it might not be worth it. But yeah, it's pretty incredible how they find a way to lose every single offseason or every single postseason, because they're so well built every single year. Like I will be glad to admit that they are a great team, but I love it. Just makes it so much better that they lose every single year. A point that Foolish Baseball made on Twitter was that this just points out how incredible the Red Sox World Series was in 2018, because they won like 108 games and then they just steamrolled everybody in the postseason. You just don't see that anymore, especially with the wild card format. Not only the new wild card round, but just with the number of teams, it just increases the randomness every single year. So it's crazy that team was able to just steamroll after being the best team in the regular season. Like, they were just clearly the best team in all of baseball by so much. And we just don't see that anymore. Like, it's going to be interesting to see who moves forward, because right now it's a lot of not the best teams in baseball, to say the least. But yeah, I was glad to see the Padres win. It's Jake Cronenworth is the man, and Juan Soto finally coming through clutch as well. I think they're going to be a hard team to beat, because I think their bullpen isn't horrible, especially if Hader can get his stuff together. But other than that, I think, you know, they've got a couple really good starters in Darvish and Musgrove, and I think Clevenger can also be really good at times. And that lineup can be really solid. It would just be really unfortunate. I mean, partially fortunate and partially unfortunate to see them not win, or to see them win a World Series without Tatis. Because like, I'm still a big fan of Tatis. We've talked about this before, that I'm just like, you know, like, it sucks when guys cheat and do steroids, but like, we vilify them more than we do guys that are physical abusers and stuff. So I'm just like, I don't care at all if you do steroids. Like, serve your suspension and stuff and don't do them again. But like, I am much quicker to forgive somebody that does that than somebody who is a physical abuser. So like him versus Ozuna, like, F the Braves. I don't want the Braves to win. They're still employing Marcell Ozuna. Like, I'd rather the Padres win. So it would be unfortunate to see the Padres win without their biggest star out there too. But I mean, that would be the price that he would have to pay because of his bad choices, stupid choices. But nonetheless, just glad that they were able to knock off the Dodgers. It was just best moment of the season so far for me.
Absolutely. So a couple things before I get to another point that I want to talk about. So going back to the Astros question, I mean, the Dodgers, you could probably also consider them a dynasty because they've been so dominant for so long. But they've also, like, when you look at them, it's the same as the Astros in a way. Obviously, they didn't cheat, but their one championship is still mired in controversy throughout all of this because it was in a 60-game season, and they've kind of shown that they haven't really been able to hack it in any playoff season or format that hasn't been the 60-game season. So, like, it's tough for me to go out and call them a dynasty. Same with the Astros when it's like, oh, we got one championship, and it's under like weird circumstances. It's like the Dodgers are like high-end talent, the team. And they've been that way for the last 10 years, really. And they can't get it done. And it's so weird to be like, what questions do you need to ask at this point of that team? Because I mean, it's got MVPs all over the place, but still, I mean, they're still struggling to get it done in the playoffs. Like, what do you need to change? Dave Roberts, does Dave Roberts' team actually suck, or is it like the Dave Roberts? Is it the randomness of baseball? Like, they just choke artists? Like, I don't know what the deal with the Dodgers is, because this was a series that on paper they should won, but this shows, baseball isn't played on paper.
Yeah, definitely. I hope it continues this way.
I do too. But and on the Tatis front, I think this also shows that like it does suck because he is their best player. And I'm like you. I mean, if he comes back and he rehabilitates himself from the steroids thing, like, I think it's a different kind of thing now, where everyone can kind of tell, like, okay, he made a stupid mistake. Compared to like a guy like Robinson Cano, who's been caught 3 times.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, at that
point, you're just an idiot.
Yeah, at that point, you're an idiot, or you're very clearly think you're smarter than the rules. You're going to get away with it, whatever. A-Rod, I think it was a little bit different too. Because like that's an old man, like really trying to prolong his career like in his prime, and like Tatis, he just kind of looks like an idiot. I'm more willing to forgive that, but I also think it's good that the Padres are doing this well. And I kind of think it shows that while Fernando Tatis Jr. is the best player, the most exciting player, and the most marketable player for San Diego Padres, he's not the leader of that team. And that firmly lies at the feet of Manny Machado, who has, like, I know we've talked about like his personality, his politics, etc. But I mean, he looks like he's really grown up from the player that's like doing these like the awful slides and annihilating Dustin Pedroia and all these immature things that he used to do, and has really grown up into being the leader of the San Diego Padres. And I think that's good. I think that's good for them. I think that's good for baseball. And it's going to be really exciting in LCS. I know I'm going to try to watch every single game of it I possibly can. But I'm so it's hard for me to pick a team to win, but I would really like Harper to get there just because I have a little bit of vested interest in the Phillies. Yeah. And onto the current series that's going on right now. The Guardians are up 2-1 against the Yankees, although things keep going the way they're going right now. It's going to quickly become 2-2. This has been a weird series, and Cleveland have been a weird playoff team, but God, if I'm still on the bandwagon. I'm still on the bandwagon. How are you still riding it out with Cleveland?
I'm super pumped. I think they're just super clutch. They've got the pitching. They like I talked about roster construction. I think they've got that down pat, where they've got the incredible bullpen. They've got a few really good starters, and they've got an offense that can come through in the clutch. They've got one big star in Jose Ramirez. I talked about this last episode, but they've really showed that this series. They I think they lost the first game. right? Is that the case? Yeah, they
Yes.
lost the first game, and then they've been able to come back and show them who's boss. I love that Stephen Kwan was able to hit a home run in that first game, take advantage of the short porch and Cole throwing fastballs. So that was cool because I think everybody loves Stephen Kwan. But other than that, they've just been able to come through in the clutch. I was watching the second game at work, and so that was a good game to watch for me. I was glad to see Guardians come through there, and then the last game I was watching last night too, and it was I was super pumped. I didn't really watch the whole game, and then it was very close going into the final inning, and so I was so pumped to watch them walk it off. It was really great. I think they're just they're like a pretty exciting team. I wouldn't say they're as exciting as the Phillies, but I am rooting for them probably more than the Phillies. I'm on the same page as you. I would love to see Phillies Guardians World Series right now. That's like ideal for me. But I keep gaining more confidence watching the Guardians. They're just so well built for the playoffs, and as long as the offense can come through in the clutch, they're gonna keep doing well. So I think they just showed that they have the ability to come back at any moment. So like right now, even being down 3-0 in the third inning, they could easily come back. 3 runs is nothing. So fingers crossed they end it today, so we don't have to have a heart attack tomorrow. But I don't know, Cole, this could be Garrett Cole's signature moment right here. Like he could strike out 10 guys, shut them out for like 7 innings or so, and just set up a really tough fought game 5 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or would it be tomorrow? It would be the next day, would it?
I don't honestly know.
Well, it would be tomorrow. Tomorrow in New York.
Yeah. So this is really, really going to be like a make it or break it kind of moment for Cleveland. And I'm kind of scared to have been the jinx man, but Cal Quantrill starting the game tonight. He's actually never lost at Progressive Field. But currently on pace to kind of struggling a little bit. But he has 34 games started there with 14-0 record and 2.8 ERA.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually the most regular season starts at one ballpark without being credited at any losses or with any losses in all of Major League Baseball history, and it's not even close. He's actually 14 starts ahead of the next, which is Yankees legend Whitey Ford. So. Cleveland, the issue is their offense. They like outside of J-Ram, they don't have many big bats. They got like Naylor, and it's just difficult for them to really piece together those runs, which makes it really not make a lot of sense that they let go of Franmil Reyes in the middle of the season. They just kind of DFA'd him because
he sucked.
He sucked, but I mean he figured it out almost immediately after leaving. Like. Yeah. The fact that they didn't just hold on to him and be like, you know what, you suck right now, but we kind of need you to figure something out. Like, I don't know. Didn't potentially buy a lot at the trade deadline, really any. But their bullpen's been really good, especially the back end. Karinchak and Colossi are so good. The middle of the pen is more of a question mark. You got guys like Brian Shaw, but this offense has just shown that they can hit in the clutch. I mean, multiple run comeback last night, beat the Yankees. Oscar Gonzalez, the SpongeBob man, walk-off single.
Done it again.
Absolutely. Maybe they can do it again tonight. But they are really built for the playoffs. Their pitching is really dominant. Tristan McKenzie looked great yesterday, and Cal Quantrill is getting kind of blown up right now, but, it is what it is. I just want them to do well so bad. Yeah, I think baseball is better when they're small markets doing well. And especially now because Cleveland, we kind of dogged them for not really adding, but they did still extend Jose Ramirez. Like they've shown that they are still trying to compete anyway without making big signings. And hopefully maybe they win the World Series. Like that would be like best case scenario for them, obviously. But even if they make the ALCS and they lose, maybe they'll still go out and buy and like, okay, we can get over the hump and we can do this. And it shows that small market teams can compete in the league because you've got the Mariners that have done well. Like, and they bought, you have the Padres. I wouldn't really consider Philly a small market, but like if you have the Mariners and the Padres and Cleveland all really doing well, like in the playoffs, even though the Mariners got swept and the Guardians' offense has been kind of anemic, it's better for baseball when it looks like this, and it's not like Yankees and Red Sox and like Dodgers, etc.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see. So I'm really hoping Cleveland will continue to do well and not just kind of get, not have this comeback happen to them by the Yankees. That would not be ideal. But
yeah, well, teams that go up 2-1 win. Apparently, they win 70% of the time. So they've got the odds are in their favor. And I think the best part about smaller market teams moving on is that like it maintains the parity in baseball. So with the Braves being knocked out, this is like the 21st or 22nd consecutive season since the 2000 Yankees repeated that we haven't had repeat champions. So that's awesome to see. It's dope that like every single year we're going to have a new winner of the World Series. We're always looking for somebody else to take the crown, and we're going to see that again this year.
Yeah. That's also great for baseball, and it would have been really good just to have had like a Padres Mariners World Series because it would have been a first-time champion. But still, I mean, if you go and it's like Guardians, Phillies haven't won in 12 years. Guardians haven't won in what, like 100 now?
No.
They won in the 40s. It's like 80 or 90 years.
I think it was like 67 or something when it was in 2016. Yeah, that's an easy look up.
You have to look them up by their dead name. They last won the World Series in 1948. So what's that math?
That's 74 years.
Thank you, Jake. I can't do math. That's why I'm a baseball writer, man. So yeah, hopefully we'll get a Cleveland Phillies, Cleveland Padres World Series. Just for that parity in baseball, just for, fan bases that have kind of been dogged by misfortune. Like God, Philly has been through the ringer too. And it meant everything for them. Back to football, it meant everything to them when the Eagles won the World Series, or won the Super Bowl, the World Series of football, Super Bowl. So it's great for these towns, and it's great when like teams like the Astros, who have been in every single World Series for my entire lifetime at this point, aren't like, hopefully won't be there. Same with like the Yankees. Like, I hate saying it for all the Yankees fans. Baseball is better like in the playoffs when the Yankees are getting beat, because they're like, them and the Astros are like the evil empires that you want to see lose in movies. Like it's like the Death Star getting blown up in Star Wars. Like everyone wants it. Like nobody's like rooting for the Empire at all. Like unless you're a weirdo. So if you're a Yankees fan, you're a weirdo. But moving on.
That's like half of the people that write for Athletes Hub.
Yeah. Just clown them. We tried to get him on here so we could have clowned him in person.
Yeah.
But they don't.
That's probably our fault. We asked him too late. But
it's time.
Yeah. They'll need to defend the Yankees if they move on to the next round for sure, because I don't know how we're going to pick between the Yankees and the Astros. I think I hate the Astros less than I hate the Yankees.
Yeah, I probably hate the Yankees more than I hate the Astros.
Yeah.
But my hometown had, like I've said it a bunch of times before, my hometown had the Astros rookie ball team. So I have some sort of connection to the Astros, even though I don't like them that much. It still feels kind of connected to me because I've been to those games when I was like a little kid. So it's hard for me to really, really hate the Astros. But yeah. So the Yankees get it for me. My least favorite team already lost, and so did yours. So
let's go. We're winning.
We already won. We'll call it a win.
Yeah.
When our teams can't be there because they're terrible.
All right. Well, let's preview the championship series again. Last time when we previewed the division series, we said who we thought was going to win and the standout player. And I don't think any of the players we named won or were standout. So that's fine. That's fine. We're not Nostradamus.
Well, I don't know. You said for the Padres that Trent Grisham would probably.
I said Ha-Seong Kim, but I think I might have said
you mentioned Trent
is probably going to keep going off.
You mentioned Trent Grisham a little bit. I'll count that for like half a point.
Okay, cool. I'll take it.
So neither. Darvish was good. Darvish was good.
Yeah. Yes.
So far, not so good. But
No. All right. Well, let's do it again. I think we should choose a hitter and a pitcher for whatever team we think is going to win. So let's start with the championship series. I think we can do that and then talk about how we think the series might play out. We'll start the Phillies and the Padres. Who do I think is going to win? I feel like I think it's going to be the Phillies. I think they just have the most momentum right now, and just the way they've been playing, they seem, I wouldn't say unstoppable, but they've taken down bigger teams than the Padres so far. So I think they're pretty set up to, just keep rolling. I think they're just going to have to ride on the backs of some of their stars and stuff to get there. But I mean, we'll see how they fare in a 7-game series. I think I want the Phillies to win too. Like I said, I want the Padres to win a World Series, but I sort of don't want them to do it without Tatis, because I'm a fan of Tatis, even though he messed up, like I said earlier. But I think the guys who I think are going to stand out for the Phillies on the offensive side, Bryce Harper's just way too obvious of a choice to choose that. And I think Hoskins' bat slam was pretty cool too. But I think Brandon Marsh is going to come through again. He hit a home run in the final game of the series. I think he's going to continue to, make himself likable to the Phillies fans and sort of come into his own in Philadelphia since being traded from the Angels, just make the Angels look even stupider. So I'm going with him. And then on the pitching side, I think it's going to be a guy from the bullpen that stands out, and I think it's going to be Jose Alvarado. He's got crazy stuff. He's sort of a very underrated reliever, especially, coming up with the Rays and that kind of stuff. So I think he's going to show how dominant he is with a couple really solid outings, because he can throw a 100-mile-per-hour sinker that just has a ton of movement. He's impossible to hit when he's got good command. So I think Jose Alvarado and Brandon Marsh are really going to be some of the drivers for the Phillies in the series.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Phillies. I have to. It feels right. I can feel it in my bones, Jake. I can feel it in my bones. I think the Phillies are gonna win. And as much as I want to pick Harper, just for the sake of it's Bryce Harper, I do think that's a little bit too easy. So I'm gonna pick Kyle Schwarber. I think it's gonna be Schwarber. That guy, he's built for the playoffs. And as much as it pained me, because he said the quote, "No offense to any fan base because they're all amazing, but this is the best division series I've ever seen at a home field." Ripped my heart out being a Cubs fan. I'm going to pick Kyle Schwarber. On the pitching side, I think I'm just going to go with Aaron Nola. But I'm so happy for the Phillies. Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos. I know from a Cubs fan perspective, Nick Castellanos played for the Cubs for half a season, and I still feel connected. Like he was a Cub for 10 years of my entire childhood. So I think it's going to be Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, one of those two guys that's just going to pop off, hit 4 dingers. Phillies are going to win in 5 games over the Padres. Is my bet. But an interesting fact, Jake, this is actually the first time ever the Phillies have gone over the luxury tax, and look what happened.
That's what you get. Bring in Dombrowski, and he's going to get the job done.
Added Schwarber, added Castellanos, but they also ate salary on Jeurys Familia, Odubel Herrera, and Didi Gregorius. And now, look at him.
Yep, they definitely come into their own this year. And then they made the trades at the deadline that really pushed them over the top, getting Syndergaard, getting Marsh, like I said, and really solidifying their team. It's sort of unfortunate right now that David Robertson isn't there. I mean, we didn't really talk about this, but he got injured celebrating a home run, jumping, pulled a hamstring. That's what happens when you're 37 years old. But that was one of the guys that really solidified their bullpen. So if he can come back healthy at any point in the championship series, I would feel even more confident in the Phillies. But, the Padres might surprise us. They've got a good team. And I think right now they're sort of trying to prove Tatis wrong. They're trying to prove a lot of teams wrong. And if they already took down the Dodgers, so they've got the hardest part out of the way. So it should be a fun series, a well fought series. It's going to be one of those series where I'm not going to be upset either way, whichever team wins, I'm not going to be oh, frick, the Padres won. I really wanted the Phillies to win. I'll be happy either way. And then, just as long as it's not the Dodgers, I'm happy. And like I'm still rooting for parity too. So I thought it was cool that the Braves got knocked out. So right now it's really going ideally on the National League side. And I think one thing for me rooting for the Padres is that was the team that I predicted to make the World Series on the National League side preseason. I had them versus the Blue Jays. And so that's been a pretty good prediction so far, but that was thinking that Tatis would be there. So maybe that will be the missing piece. The offense won't be quite at full strength in this series, and it'll be tough for them to keep pace with the Phillies offense.
Yeah. So moving on, ALCS, Houston Astros versus either the Cleveland Guardians or the New York Yankees. Pull up the picture, Jake, of the really crappy sign where they called it the New York Stinkies.
I saw that.
That was really
yeah.
fun.
Hard to recover from that.
Oh yeah, epic burn. You have been burned, Yankees.
Yeah.
I mean, who do you have winning the series?
Well, I think it depends on who moves on. I think if the Yankees move on, I think they're gonna get destroyed by the Astros, and it'll be so tough to see. Sorry, Yankees. That's what you get for employing Aroldis Chapman for all these years. But I think if the Yankees move on, I'm going to be rooting for the Astros, and I think they'll win. And if the Guardians move on, like you've said, brain versus heart so far, I think everybody on paper has the Astros winning, but I think the Guardians just have that heart factor that I think the Guardians will win if they move on. I'm just going to be watching Steven Kwan. I think Steven Kwan's going to be a big driver for the Guardians on the offensive side, and on the pitching side, I think Class A is just going to be really crucial just to get him in there as many games, which means you're winning, but he is not going to falter when he's out there. So if you can get Class A into 4 games, you should be feeling really good. And if Steven Kwan can just continue to set the stage at the top of the lineup, the Guardians will be pretty set. And just an update right now on the game as it's going on, Jose Ramirez is up in an 0-2 count with runners on first and second. So if he hits a home run right here, it's a tie game. But there's 2 strikes, so you never know.
It's Jerem.
He popped out. Oh wait, he blooped it in the left, and a run scores. It's
Excellent.
3-1.
Excellent. Brings me on to my point. Obviously, head versus heart. Head says Guardians. Heart says Guardians. I'm all in on the Guardians, man. If they get there, they're a wagon. They're such a wagon. Pitching side, Tristan McKenzie. He is nails. He's so good, and he's been really good in the playoffs. I had a stat pulled up, but he has dogged the Yankees specifically doing this. But against just the AL East this year, he had a 1.42 ERA, and he has gotten better down the stretch in the regular season. He looked really good in his last start, and I just think he's got it made. I mean, he gets ground balls, and his K rate's been going up. If it's not going to be him, I'm actually going to go with the other key reliever for Cleveland. It's going to be Karinchak. Any of those guys, if they use Clase, because they used him a couple games ago, they brought him in like the 8th or like the in like the top of the 8th with 1 out or something, and he got like a 5 out win, I believe. Which really good. If they get him and Karinchak in high leverage where they need to be using them instead of just saving Clase for like saves, just using them for high leverage, I think either of them will be completely dominant. But just because you chose Clase, I'm going to choose Karinchak.
Cool.
On the hitting side, I think I'm going to go with Josh Naylor. Just something about him. I think you chose him. You chose him for this round. I'm going to choose him for the next round. So I'm going to choose Josh Naylor. He's going to hit like a 500-foot bomb and then absolutely freak out running around the bases. And he's going to do that like 2 or 3 times. So I'm going to go with Naylor. Hopefully comes true. Guardians, playoff wagon, Phillies, World Series.
Yeah,
get us there. Just get us there.
Let's hope so. So right now we're looking, I think we're both rooting for Guardians versus Phillies in the World Series. So that'll be interesting to watch. It's going to be a fun rest of this division series that is currently going on, and it's going to be an interesting championship series on both sides. The playoffs are going sort of ideally for us right now, other than the Mariners, rest in peace, not moving on, because I think if the Guardians move on, it'll basically be, all the teams we wanted to move on. Would have liked to see the Mets go a little further, but Mets gonna Met, so that's unfortunate. But that's how it is. You got any final thoughts about the playoffs right now?
No, it's just been a really enjoyable postseason so far, and I'm hoping for it to continue to be that way. I really just don't want, I don't want a team in. I'm obviously rooting for Guardians, and I'm obviously rooting for the Phillies. I don't really want either of the series to just be like a sweep. That's not fun baseball. At least for me.
Mm-hmm. Unless it's the Guardians sweeping the Astros.
That's fun baseball. Sweep them every single game, 2-0, 2-1. I want them to win, and I still want them to never score more than 5 runs.
They scored 5 runs. They scored 5 runs.
They haven't scored more than 5 runs, Jake.
They scored 6 last game, bro.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they won 6-5. You're talking about the Guardians right now?
They won 6-5.
They won 6-5. Yeah, you're tripping.
Am I? I don't
Bro,
think so.
Stay off the psychedelics. You're tripping.
We're having like a Berenstain Bears effect thing.
The Mandela effect?
Yeah, Mandela effect. Yeah. Okay then, Jake. They haven't scored more than 6 runs.
There you go. It's a good point.
Wow. Me and Jake live completely across the country. We're gonna get in a fist fight.
I'm gonna send you a fist by message.
Yeah. Free baseball number 50. Jake and Davis getting a fist fight.
Ooh, that would be sick. I'm
parking lot.
I'm gonna send you a video of that punching machine where the bag comes down and it measures how hard. I'm just gonna send you a video of that. I'm gonna be like, this is your face. How does it feel? I actually did one of those for the first time last night.
Jake and Logan Paul boxing matches and stuff.
Yeah. Frick those guys. I did one of those machines for the first time ever last night. And I would say I have a pretty strong punch.
What was your number?
I got 840.
Wow, this guy.
Yeah, don't mess with me. Don't mess with me. You don't want any of this.
Or you'll get the puncher.
Yeah.
Jake the puncher. So, yeah, I other than rooting for good baseball in the playoffs, obviously I want the preferred outcome. So we talked about if we get them wrong, wasn't our fault. Doesn't count anyway. So. Yeah, if we get it right, we're geniuses. We call it.
Oh, we're geniuses either way. We're wearing glasses, bro.
Yeah, mine are broken a little bit. So,
hey, mine are broken too. I won't do it right now, but this lens pops out. I could just pop it out like that. Yeah,
this one does too, and the little nose piece is messed up. But on any note, we haven't done one in forever. I think it's a good time to bring in the closer, Jake.
Yeah, it's been at least a month, maybe even 2, that we've brought in a closer. So. We're bringing it back. We're bringing in the closer. We're bringing it back. And this week we've got John Wetling closing it out. Let me clear my throat real quick. Because he's got a 12-year career that we've got to break down. He played from 1989 to 2000. He started his career with the Dodgers, went to the Expos, Yankees, and finished out with the Rangers. He was drafted by the Mets in the 12th round of the 1984 draft, but he didn't sign and was drafted again the next year by the Dodgers in the 2nd round of the 1985 draft. He debuted 4 years later in May of 1989 at the age of 22 against his future team, the Montreal Expos. Yeah, that stumped me for a sec. He came out of relief. He went 1 inning, didn't allow a hit or an earned run, and walked a batter and struck out a batter. Good start, but he started some games. I think he actually requested to become a relief pitcher after he struggled early on in his career. So he started 12 of 31 games as a rookie and then started 5 of 22 games as a sophomore. And then he never started a game again. So from there, he really started to come into his own. He really didn't pitch much for the Dodgers in his 3rd season with the team and was traded twice in that offseason prior to the 92 season. First, he was traded to the Reds in a deal that included Eric Davis going to the Dodgers. And then second, he was traded from the Reds to the Expos in a deal that involved current Nationals manager Dave Martinez. So that's pretty interesting. He's got a little tie-ins to a few franchises there that he never played for. so yeah. So now he's on the Expos. He became the Expos closer in his first season there, and then just was one of the best closers in baseball for the rest of his career. He secured at least 25 saves every season for the rest of his career, and had at least 31 saves in 8 of his 9 final seasons. So he was really killing it. He was at the top of his game for the final half of his career, maybe more than half of his career, right? It was 9 of 12 seasons where he was just a lights out reliever. So in his first season with the Expos in 1992, he had a 2.92 ERA that came with 37 saves. He finished 22nd in National League MVP voting. And then he followed that up in 1993 with the best season of his career. He had a 1.37 ERA and a 1.01 whip. He struck out 113 batters and tied his career high with 43 saves. He would do that 2 more times, so that he had career best in ERA, strikeouts, and saves that year. Was really his best season. He finished 24th in National League MVP, and then his final season in Montreal, he had a 2.83 ERA and a 25 saves in 1994. He then signed with the New York Yankees as a free agent prior to the 1995 season. That came with a 2.93 ERA and a 0.88 whip, the best of his career, and 31 saves. That was his first season in New York. And then his second season was also very memorable too. He had a 2.83 ERA and an American League leading 43 saves that year as well. He earned his first All-Star selection and finished 19th in American League MVP voting, and won his first and only AL Raleigh's Relief Man of the Year award. Then in that postseason, he went off. He tied the record for most saves in a postseason series when he won the World Series MVP award and his only ring that year. And he also set the single postseason record with 7 saves, which has been tied by a few other relievers since then. But he was really going off that postseason. And yeah, he won his only ring and World Series MVP. So he really was shining on the biggest stage. Then he signed with the Rangers as a free agent following that season. Prior to the 1997 season, he signed for 4 years and $23 million. The first of that contract, he had a 1.94 ERA, a 0.99 whip, and 31 saves. Followed that up in 1998 with his second All-Star appearance, during which he pitched to a 2.03 ERA, a 0.98 whip, and 42 more saves. So he finished 16th in AL MVP voting that year, just continuing his reign as one of the best closers in baseball. Prior to the 1999 season, he had elbow surgery, which sapped his velocity. So he sort of was forced to turn more to curveball, sliders, and changeups because he wasn't throwing as hard. But he was still pretty effective in 1999. His ERA shot up to 3.68, but he still tied his career high with 43 saves. He earned his third and final All-Star selection that year and finished 6th in AL Cy Young Award voting, which is sort of weird because he was so much better in other seasons and never got a single Cy Young vote. So, but nonetheless, he was the first Rangers pitcher to get a save in the All-Star game that year. That was cool. He set the Rangers single season saves record as well with those 43. And then he earned Raleigh's Relief Pitcher of the Decade following that season, as was named the best closer of the decade, basically. So that was cool. And then he finished out his career in 2000 with a nice 4.20 ERA and 34 more saves. And that finished out his Rangers tenure. And he retired as the all-time leader in saves in Rangers franchise history, but he also retired at just the age of 33. That elbow surgery must have really taken a toll on him, and like he had been so good for so long that, you know, I guess he felt his career was done. But, you know, if he had kept going for like 5 more years or something, he would be considered one of the best closers of all time. Even still, his career numbers are pretty incredible. He retired with 19.2 Baseball Reference WAR across 765 innings pitched with 804 strikeouts. He had a 2.93 ERA and a 1.14 whip, and he saved 330 ball games in his career that lasted just 12 seasons. And that's good for 16th all time in career saves. So just a guy that just had a really dominant and sustained peak that sort of ended sooner than many would have expected because he wanted to retire at a relatively young age, but nonetheless, he was still just an incredible reliever. And, you know, he's here to shut down our postseason podcast. And, you know, he like he did in 1996, he's done an amazing job again.
Absolutely. So thank you guys for joining us on our 32nd episode of the Free Baseball Podcast presented by the Athletes Hub. You can check out our socials below. I'm DVS Bird on Twitter. My name's Davis Bird. It's really easy. Follow Jake Crumpler at Jake Crumpler. Easier than mine. Also read all of his stuff with Baseball HQ. Read all of his stuff with Pitcher List. Read all of this stuff with the Athletes Hub, of course. There's one other site, isn't there? I'm forgetting.
My personal website, which still needs to be updated. For
Update
the
your
first time in 2
site.
months. Yeah. It's just links. It's just links to my articles. So
Yeah,
but
update
yeah,
your site, Jake, so we can
I do
plug
need
it
to do
more.
that. Yeah, crumplerbaseball.com if you like to go see all my previous work.
Absolutely. Join back with us next weekend. It's either gonna be Saturday or Sunday. We're still figuring it out. Probably Sunday. For our next episode of Free Baseball, we're going to talk about more baseball. As always, not a whole lot else to add. What do you got? What do you got, Jake? Nothing.
I got nothing. Isaiah in the comments is sort of pissed at us for rooting for the Astros over the Yankees, and
Get
he
over
said
it.
he would like to
Boo.
see a Yankees Padres series, or a
Nah,
2009
whatever.
rematch. Which, what was 2009?
Oh, Yankees and Phillies.
Okay, yeah. Well, of course, Isaiah wants to see the Yankees in the World Series, and unlike
Yeah.
maybe anybody else that is not a Yankees fan, so sorry, Isaiah. It's going to be hard for us to side with you on that one, but I'm just excited to watch some more baseball. It's been fun so far. Just sucks that they do these games during the week too, so I'm just like at work watching baseball when I should be working, but
Yeah.
it's fine. Gives me something to pass the time.
Yeah. But yeah, love baseball. Excellent. Just not Yankees baseball. Don't want to see Yankees baseball. So
Yeah.
But join us next week. Talk more playoff baseball. That's all we got for today. Peace. Have a good one.
Peace.